Poetry Out Loud Alaska State Finals 2014 is made possible by the Alaska State Council on the Arts, in partnership with the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council and the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation. Welcome to Poetry Out Loud Alaska State Finals 2014. Now, here is Ben Brown, Chair of the Alaska State Council on the Arts.
Thank you all very much. It's wonderful to be here this evening. Obviously, I skipped the rehearsal this afternoon. I was in the Capitol doing some other things. And I don't think there are any oxygen masks that will drop from the ceiling in any event. So that was not an omission on the part of the previous video that you just watched. I do have the privilege of being the chairman of the Alaska State Council on the Arts. We're an 11-member volunteer panel appointed by the governor of Alaska. And we work with our talented staff to foster the development and appreciation of the arts for all Alaskans through education, partnership, grants, and services. And this event, Poetry Out Loud, is probably the best example of partnership I can point to that we do as an agency. Started at the behest of former National Endowment for the Arts Chairman Dana Gioia. In 2006 is when actually 2005, they announced that November, we're going to do a project in state capitals across the country to get kids in those areas clustered around their state capitals to learn poems and recite them. And it has just grown exponentially across the nation and certainly here in Alaska since then. And I just could not even have envisioned back then when I was on the State Council on the Arts that we'd be where we are today in this wonderful space here at KTOO. Two of the most important partnerships we have for this event are, of course, the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council and Capital Community Broadcasting Incorporated. So we're very grateful, and there are many, many other things the Arts Council does. You can learn more about us at our website with the State of Alaska. You can find us at the Department of Education and Early Development. We are an agency there. So I don't want to take any more time because we have a bunch of wonderful young Alaskans with whom I was able to visit the governor's house this afternoon, and I know they've enjoyed their time thus far in Juneau, but this is going to be probably the more difficult part of it. So I wish you all the very best of luck, and now it's my privilege to introduce, on behalf of the city and borough of Juneau, Alaska's capital city, Karen Crane, who represents District 2 on the CBJ Assembly. She's in her second term. In a prior life, Karen was director of the Division of Libraries, Archives, and Museums, and has always been super supportive of the arts. So Karen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm here this evening to welcome our Poetry Out Loud participants to Juneau. Juneau is an arts town. Our community has a deep and abiding appreciation of the arts. So it's a real pleasure to welcome this talented group to town. You appreciate words, words that have power, words that speak to us in so many ways, words that you're going to share with us this evening. Those of you who are here to compete are already winners. I wish each of you the best this evening, and I look forward to hearing the words and the poems that you're going to share with us. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you, Karen, for those words on behalf of the city and borough of Juneau. And now, with no further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the head of ASCA on a daily basis, Shannon Doubt, the executive director, a good friend of mine and a wonderful public servant to the state of Alaska. Shannon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. We're really excited to be here, and in the previous years we've had this at the Jack, and we decided to try something new and have it here, and it's just been a wonderful process to work with this terrific community space and have the event live broadcast as well. So welcome and thank you so much. I'm the executive director of the Alaska State Council on the Arts, and as Ben said, our job is to serve citizens of Alaska and build communities throughout our state through the arts. And we work with our wonderful artists and arts organizations to really get into their communities and serve Alaskans. The Poetry Out Loud program is really just one of our favorite programs, and I just want to acknowledge Laura Forbes on staff with us, who is our staff leader of this project and does just a fantastic job. This program, last year, 50 high schools participated, 3,600 Alaskan students participated, and then in the national Poetry Out Loud program, 375,000 students participate. It is a really vibrant program, and you know, over over the years, we've heard from students, Alaskans who have been involved, about how their participation has really impacted their lives. Beyond developing and nurturing a love of poetry, it has helped them with public speaking and confidence, and many students have never been on a stage before in front of a crowd, and that was their first time doing it. So it's a really valuable experience for our Alaskan students as well. One of the things we're trying this year, we've been webcasting it live for a few years, and we are doing a little experiment to do some interactivity. And so if you're watching us live on the webcast, you can comment through the web system, and those will be posted to the webcast, as well as anyone that tweets will have that posted to the interactive webcast as well. And note, it will not be live during future broadcasts of this event, but for tonight, if you tweet hashtag AlaskaPOL, that will feed into the web stream. And we hope that there are communities from all of your areas of the state joining you virtually to cheer you on as you go through this competition. So with that, I just want to congratulate each of our finalists that made it to the state competitions tonight. You already have had a significant accomplishment being here, and have just done a wonderful job, and we know it's going to be a really tough competition. You all have worked really hard to be here tonight, and look forward to seeing the fruits of all of that work. So with that, I will introduce our lovely MC for the night from Perseverance Theater, Miss Shona Strasser.
Thank you. Thanks, Shannon. And thank you, everybody. We're ready to get this party started. I'm very excited for you all. I'm ready to hear some great poetry this evening. Just a few things before we get started. I want to tell you the rules, because yes, there are rules to this competition, and we'll go through those, and then I will introduce our judges. Only currently enrolled high school students in grades 9 through 12 are eligible, with an exception made for 8th grade students participating in 9th through 12th grade classes. Competitors must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents to be eligible to compete at the National Poetry Out Loud competition. A student may not advance to state finals without competing in a lower level competition, which all of ours have. Schools or regions must hold a competition of at least 2 students to select their champion. If that champion is unable to attend the next level of competition, the runner-up is sent. Students must be judged according to the Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria from the 2013-2014 Teacher's Guide. State and national finals consist of 3 rounds of competitions. Competitions at lower levels may have fewer rounds, but students must recite only 1 poem in each round. The order in which the poems are recited is up to the student. Rankings are based solely on evaluation sheets submitted by our fabulous judges, who actually here are in the back there. Thank you so much. Judges should not convene to discuss performances during the competition. Judges may not reconsider their scores after they are submitted. Scoring is cumulative. The scores from all rounds should be added together to determine the winner. In the event of a tie, the tied student with the highest overall performance score should win. If that also results in a tie, we'll look to the highest accuracy score. Students may not use props or wear costumes during their recitations. All poems must be selected from the Poetry Out Loud print or online anthology, which is found at poetryoutloud.org. So that's that rule stuff out of the way. I would like to introduce our fabulous judges who have combined just amazing amounts of experience both in the spoken word and the printed word. And I will get to their bios in our second round of performance tonight, but I would like to introduce them really quickly. We have Jeff Brady of Skagway, Christine Nami Erickson, Susie Gregg Fowler, and Patrick Race, and Emily Wall, all of Juneau. With accuracy judge Bridget Lujan, and scorekeepers Nancy DeCherney and Marcia Sousa, also of Juneau. So let's give them one big round of applause for their work. All right, and I think we are ready to begin. And so our first contestant tonight is V. Tung B, representing Unalaska City School. V is currently a senior at Unalaska City School District, daughter of Bin B and Nan Nguyen. She has a special interest in performing on stage, Since the first time V set foot on stage, she knew that this was what she was interested and would do for the rest of her life. Sometimes when she's performing, she feels like she's a completely different person. When people approach V, they see this lively and energetic person that loves to perform, but in fact, she faces the same problems as everyone else when performing. V gets butterflies in her stomach and panics every time she performs. I'm just like everyone else. I believe that being nervous is normal, because if it's something I'm passionate about, I better be worrying, said V. She wants to stand on the Poetry Out Loud stage and proudly introduce herself as VB. Please welcome V Tung B, representing Unalaska City School.
Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved, I lived alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life was drawn from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm and the cloud that took the form. When the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view.
That's V Tung B from Unalaska City School. Thank you, V. Up next, we have Catherine Karstensen Zerbst, representing North Pole High School. Catherine is a senior at North Pole High School. She became interested in poetry when she entered high school. Her first Poetry Out Loud competition was in her junior year when she won third prize. Vowing to be a champion, she is thankful to have made it to the state competition. She is very active in her school choir, being a member of both the concert and jazz choirs. Singing is her passion, and she hopes to someday be a writer and a vocal performer. Her university plans are to study accounting and business, but she will definitely continue to recite poetry and be musically active. Please welcome to the stage Catherine Karstensen Zerbst, representing North Pole High School.
Invitation to Love by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Come when the nights are bright with stars, or come when the moon is mellow. Come when the sun his golden bars drops on the hayfield yellow. Come in the twilight soft and gray. Come in the night, or come in the day. Come, O love, whene'er you may, and you are welcome, welcome. You are sweet, O love, dear love. You are soft as the nesting dove. Come to my heart and bring it to rest, as the bird flies home to its welcome nest. Come when my heart is full of grief, or when my heart is merry. Come with the falling of the leaf, or with the rending cherry. Come when the spring's first blossom blows. Come when the summer gleams and glows. Come with the winter's drifting snows. And you are welcome, welcome.
And that was Catherine Karstensen Zerbst from North Pole High School. Our third contestant this evening is Owen Fulton. He represents Sitka High School. He was born in Seattle in the year 1996 and moved to Sitka in the year 2000. He has lived in Sitka since then, and he's 17 years old. Owen is a very active member of his community and participates in many activities and events offered. Musically, he is a member of the Sitka High School Symphonic and Jazz Bands. He plays 7 different instruments and teaches violin lessons. Owen and his brother perform together as the Fulton Brothers. Academically speaking, Owen participates in DDF, Drama, Debate, and Forensics, in which he has qualified for the state competition twice in his high school career. He is president of the Student Council of Sitka High School, and this is his first year participating in Poetry Out Loud, but he has long loved poetry. Owen is a junior this year, and he hasn't really come up with any college plans yet. Please welcome to the stage Owen Fulton from Sitka High School.
All right. This is Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, written by Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men, who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late, they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
And that was Owen Fulton from Sitka High School. Our fourth contestant in this Poetry Out Loud state competition for Alaska is Tyler Kelly, representing Twinley Bridge Charter School in Wasilla. Tyler Kelly is a 10th grader at Twinley Bridge Charter School. He took first place in the National Muzzle Loading Rifle Association, which he had to explain to me what that was, pistol championship, second in the state junior Olympics in air pistol, as well as second in the state Geography B, and was a finalist in the State First Tech Challenge robotics competition. He first got into the Poetry Out Loud program about 4 years ago when he helped his brother practice his programs. Last year, he joined the program and went to the regional competition at Colony High School. Even though he did not win, he gained valuable insight on how to read poems and learned more about poetry in general. After learning these lessons, Tyler took 2 of his previous poems from the year before, convinced that he could do better with them. And as it turned out, he did, and won the regional competition, and that brings him here. Please welcome to the stage, Tyler Kelly, representing Twinley Bridge Charter School in Wasilla.
The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade! Charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade! Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew. Someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply. Theirs not to reason why. Theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode, and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged into the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber's stroke. Shattered and sundered, then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. As horse and hero fell, they that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the light brigade. Noble 600.
And that was Tyler Kelly representing Twinley Bridge Charter School in Wasilla. I just want to give you a few fun factoids because Poetry Out Loud is, of course, a nationwide program. Alaska has had a Poetry Out Loud program since 2006 as part of the National Poetry Out Loud program from the National Endowment for the Arts. The state championships have been held in Juneau each year since. In the first year of the state championship, students from 4 communities participated. This year, students from 10 communities participate at our state level. And this year, like we heard before, this year more than 4,000 students in Alaska will have participated in the classroom at the state level. And I do see some teachers here from all over the state that have definitely made Poetry Out Loud part of their very classroom and their school. So thank you for that. Coming up next, we have Angela Nushaluk representing Unalakleet High School. Angela is grateful to have attended Unalakleet schools for 13 years. Her favorite and strongest class is English. It was her English teacher who introduced her to Poetry Out Loud. Before she learned about this incredible opportunity, she enjoyed listening to others recite poetry. Her favorite poet is Robert Frost, and her favorite poem by Robert Frost is Birches. Please welcome to the stage Angela Nushaluk from Unalakleet School.
Insomnia by Dante Gabriele Rossetti. Thin are the night skirts left behind by daybreak hours that onward creep, and thin, alas, the shred of sleep that wavers with the spirit's wind. But in half dreams that shift and roll and still remember and forget, my soul this hour has drawn your soul a little nearer yet. Our lives, most dear, are never near. our thoughts are never far apart, though all that draws us heart to heart seems fainter now, and now more clear. Tonight love claims his full control, and with desire and with regret, my soul this hour has drawn your soul a little nearer yet. Is there a home where heavy earth melts to bright air that breathes no pain? Where water leaves no thirst again, and spurning fire is love's new birth? If faith, long bound to one true goal, may there at length its hope beget, my soul that hour shall draw your soul forever nearer yet. Thank you.
And that's Angela Nushaluk from Unaclete School. I would like to also tell you that the students have had a very busy day today. They've been to the University of Alaska Southeast and visited people on that campus. They went to the governor's mansion, as Ben said earlier, and the Capitol building. And some of the students will even visit the legislature tomorrow morning before they return to their respective communities. And this year's state competition includes 10 students, like I said, from 4 urban regions, so that's Anchorage, Fairbanks, the Mat-Su, and Juneau, and 5 rural regions, including the far north and west, interior, southeast, southwest, south central Alaska, and an open region. All right, coming up next is Mava Ordaz, representing West Anchorage High School. Mava Ordaz is a junior at West. In her spare time, she enjoys volunteering at the Anchorage Museum and writing short stories. This is her 3rd year performing in the Poetry Out Loud program. Please welcome to the stage Mava Ordaz, representing West Anchorage High School.
Zacuan Papalotles by Brenda Cardenas, in memory of Jose Antonio Borciaga. We are chameleons. We become chameleon. Jose Antonio Borciaga. We are space between the black-orange blur of a million monarchs on their 2-generation migration. South to Fur-Crown, Michoacan, where tree trunks will sprout feathers, a forest of paper-thin wings. Our mexica cocooned in the membranes de la Madre Tierra say, we are reborn Zacuan Papalotles. Mariposas negras y aranjaras, in whose sweep the dead whisper. We are between the flicker of a chameleon's tail that turns his desert blue backbone to jade or pink sand. The snake-skinned fraternal twins of solstice and equinox, the ashen dawn, silvering dusk, la oración as it leaves the lips, the tug from sleep, the glide into dreams that has scout mestizo memory. We are one life, passing through the prism of all others, gathering color and song, gempasuchil and drum, to leave a rhythm scattered in the wind, dust tinting the tips of fingers as we slip into our new light. Thank you.
And that's Mava Ordaz from West Anchorage High School. Where can you find poetry in Alaska is the question. And there's so many places. We're a very lucky state to have so many wonderful artistic opportunities for all of us. You can find lots of poetry at the Alaska Festival of the Book at UAF in Fairbanks, the Fairbanks Summer Arts Festival, the Ketchimek Bay Writers Conference that happens in the summertime in Homer, the Wrangell Mountain Center in McCarthy, Palmer Arts Council Poetry Month. They have a whole month dedicated to poetry. The Tidal Echoes at University of Alaska Southeast in Juneau, run by one of our judges, Emily Wall. F Magazine, if you haven't had a chance to check that out, super cool magazine. You can check that out in print. You can also check it out online. 49 Writers at Out North Contemporary Art House in Anchorage, the Black Feather Poets in Anchorage, the Alaska Quarterly Review in print, and also Wushki Na Dei, and that is actually here in Juneau. It's the Poetry Slam. So many places where you can check out some beautiful words if you're loving what you're hearing tonight, as I am. Coming up next, we have Rafael Salas, representing Thunder Mountain High School. Rafael graduates from Thunder Mountain High School in Juneau this spring. Sports fans may know Rafael as the leader of the pep band, the face-painted, hair-dyed student that gets the band and cheer section energized. He has his own band, Vitamin 6, in which he sings. They recently won the school's talent show competition, and I bet you can find him around town. There's a nice battle of the bands, too. I bet, hopefully for that, too. Rafael also plays in the jazz band, is a midfield forward on the varsity soccer team, and serves on student council as the spirit rep. He has competed in Poetry Out Loud every year in high school. I like rhythms and words. It sounds weird, but I look for ways to express myself through music and performance. Spoken word is my absolute favorite, and Anis Mojgani is my favorite, he said. Rafael plans to study business in Oregon this fall and hopes to make enough money to eat pizza forever. Good plan. Here is Rafael Salas representing Thunder Mountain High School.
I'm offering this poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca. I'm offering this poem to you since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through. I love you. I have nothing else to give you. So it is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly in winter. It is a scarf for your head to wear over your hair, to tie up around your face. I love you. Keep it. Treasure this as you would if you were lost, needing direction in the wilderness life becomes when mature. And in the corner of your drawer, tucked away like a cabin or hogan, in dense trees come knocking. And I will answer, give you directions, and let you warm yourself by this fire, rest by this fire, and make you feel safe. I love you. It's all I have to give, and all anyone needs to live. And to go on living inside, when the world outside no longer cares if you live or die, remember, I love you.
And that was Rafael Salas representing Thunder Mountain High School. If you haven't been to poetryoutloud.org, check that out. It includes poetry from more than 400 poets, and has a random poem function. So you can click on that and random poets, it's great. You spin the wheel for a new poem. You can log in to create a list of your favorite poems, listen to poetry, and view Poetry Out Loud recitations from all over the states. On the Poetry Foundation website, one of the Poetry Out Loud partners at poetryfoundation.org, there are children's poems, a learning lab, podcasts, and a poetry mobile app for iPhone and Android. You can also like the Poetry Out Loud program on Facebook, of course. Coming up next, we have John Sarmiento representing Homer High School. Having lived for the first 13 years of his life in the great city of Buenos Aires, Argentina, the sudden opportunity for John Sarmiento to move to the U.S. alongside his mother was rather recent. In every single one of the now 14 months John has resided in the States, he has seen, learned, and experienced countless things in life which have helped him grow and progress. The support I have received to chase any dream I might fancy here is unbelievable, and it is organizations such as this that let youth express themselves in so many ways which can make this country so wonderful, says John. Although his future is far from set, he does have one thing clear in his mind. John wants to be happy. Love it. He wants to dedicate his life to something which can make him look forward to every single waking moment. And although finding that special something has not been one of John's endeavors, he believes his tomorrow lies in traveling. Please welcome to the stage John Sarmiento, representing Homer High School.
Happiness by Jane Kenyon. There is just no accounting for happiness or the way it turns up, like a prodigal who comes back to the dust at your feet, having squandered a fortune far away. And how can you not forgive? You make a feast in honor of what was lost, and take from its place the finest garments, which you saved for an occasion you could not imagine. And you weep, night and day, to know that you were not abandoned, that happiness saved its most extreme form, for you, alone. No, happiness is the uncle you never knew about, who flies a single-engine plane onto the grassy landing strip, hitchhikes into town, and inquires at every door until he finds you asleep mid-afternoon, as you so often are during the unmerciful hours of your despair. It comes to the monk in his cell. It comes to the woman sweeping the street with a birch broom, to the child whose mother has passed out from drink. It comes to the lover, to the dog chewing a sock, to the pusher, to the basket maker, and to the clerk, stacking cans of carrots in the night. It even comes to the boulder in the perpetual shade of pine barrens, to rain falling on the open sea, to the wine glass, wary of holding wine.
That was John Sarmiento representing Homer High School. So last year, the Poetry Out Loud state competition was held at the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council right across the street. And last year on the statewide level, or actually on the nationwide level, Langston Ward of Spokane, Washington won the title of Poetry Out Loud National Champion out of a field of 375,000 students. Pretty amazing. Tong Tao, a student from Colony High School in Palmer, represented the state of Alaska at the national competition and won. You know, he won last year right over there at the Jack and represented us proudly. Amazing, amazing performer. Up next, we have Hazel Underwood, representing Kenny Lake High School. Last year I mispronounced her name, so I'm going to make sure that I do it correct this year. It's Hazel Underwood, just so you know. She says, "I'm a true-blooded Alaskan and loving it." Hazel has lived in the tiny community of Kenny Lake all of her life, attending Kenny Lake School. After graduating this May, she plans to work in Denali Park all summer to earn money for a semester with a National Outdoor Leadership School in the fall. Hazel has always loved the wild outdoors, so the possibility of a career in that field is really exciting to her. She will be attending the University of Alaska Fairbanks in the fall of 2015. Please welcome to the stage Hazel Underwood, representing Kenny Lake School.
Author's Prayer by Ilya Kaminsky. If I speak for the dead, I must leave this animal of my body. I must write the same poem over and over, for an empty page is the white flag of their surrender. If I speak for them, I must walk on the edge of myself. I must live as a blind man who runs through rooms without touching the furniture. Yes, I live. I can cross the streets asking, what year is it? I can dance in my sleep and laugh in front of the mirror. Even sleep is a prayer, Lord. I will praise your madness and, in a language not mine, speak of music that wakes us, music in which we move. For whatever I say is a kind of petition, and the darkest days must I praise.
And that was Hazel Underwood representing Kenny Lake School. So at the national competition, and that's kind of where this winner will go, a total of $50,000 in awards and scholarships are awarded annually to the various students who win at that level. So it's an amazing opportunity that young people have to actually pay for school. It's really great. We have one more participant in this first round. We have 2 rounds of everybody participating. Then in the third round, we'll narrow that down. The judges will convene. We'll narrow that down to the finalists, and then we'll hear from the finalists. So in this first round, we have one more participant. It's Zoe Wassman, representing Skagway School. Zoe Wassman is a junior from Skagway. This is her first year she has competed in the Poetry Out Loud competition. Over the course of her 3 years at Skagway High School, Zoe has competed in 2 years of volleyball and basketball, 1 year of cross country, and 1 year of track and field. This year, she is in the student council as a junior class representative. She is participating in the school musical, and she competes in the local science fair and on-the-job training at the Skagway newspaper. Over the course of the last 3 years, Zoe has taken numerous English classes, actually way too many to mention. I was like, whoa, Zoe, that's a lot of English classes. She's currently enrolled in AP English Literature. And in the future, Zoe hopes to pursue a career as an English teacher. Please welcome to the stage Zoe Wassman, representing Skagway School.
American Smooth by Rita Dove. We were dancing. It must have been a foxtrot or a waltz, something romantic, but requiring restraint. Rise and fall, precise execution as we moved into the next song without stopping, 2 chests heaving above a 7-league stride. Such perfect agony one learns to smile through. Ecstatic mimicry being the sine qua non of American Smooth. But because I was so focused on keeping my form, the leftward lean, head turned just enough to gaze out past the ear, and always smiling, smiling, I forgot to notice how still you'd become. Until we had done it for 2 measures, 4, achieved flight, that swift and serene magnificence, before the earth remembered who we were and brought us back down. Thank you.
And that was Zoe Wassman, representing Skagway School. So that was the completion of the first round, and I just want to give all of our performers just some mad love before they get up here again. So please, let's give them one more round of applause. So our judges are looking for a lot of different things tonight on their score sheets. They're all using the same score sheet. There's also an accuracy portion to this competition that they look at the poems. We have an accuracy judge, that's Bridget. She looks at the poems and making sure that they are recited in the correct order, and that's it's all part of the cumulative score. So there's so much that goes into this, and I'm so impressed with everything that we've all seen so far, so thank you. In our second round, we will go the same order that we did our first round. So, welcoming back up to the stage, please give a warm round of applause for V. Tung Bi, representing Unalaska City School.
The Star by Jane Taylor and Ann Taylor. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the blazing sun is gone, when he nothing shines upon, then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Then the traveler in the dark thanks you for your tiny spark. He could not see which way to go if you did not twinkle so. In the dark blue sky you keep, and often through my curtains peep. For you never shut your eye till the sun is in the sky. 'Tis your bright and tiny spark lights the traveler into the dark. Though I know not what you are, twinkle, twinkle, little star.
That was V. Tung Bi, representing Unalaska City School. So I would like to take some moments in between these next contestants rounds to introduce our highly skilled and esteemed judges. I'm just reading their bios before I came here. Wow. It was a wow, and I will share this wow with you right now. The first judge that I would like to tell you about is Emily Wall. She's locally here from Juneau. Emily Wall is a poet and an assistant professor of creative writing at the University of Southeast Alaska in Juneau. She did her undergraduate study at Colby College in Maine and earned her MFA from the University of Arizona. Her graduate thesis reflected her obsession with the landscape of Southeast Alaska and the Pacific Coast, and this place continues to inform her work. In 2009, she published her first book of poems titled Freshly Rooted. A few years ago, she took an extended leave from Juneau and moved to British Columbia, where she taught at UBC and lived on her 37-foot sailboat. She recently published her second book of poems, titled Live Aboard. These poems reflect her life living aboard and cruising the coast of British Columbia and Southeast Alaska. Emily has been published in a wide variety of literary journals and has won several poetry prizes. This past year, she won a statewide poetry contest, and her poem was placed in Totem Bite Park in Ketchikan. Emily is also the faculty advisor and editor for the Southeast Alaska literary journal Tidal Echoes. If you haven't checked that out, definitely grab a copy when it comes out. She greatly enjoys reading the work of writers and poets from all the communities in Southeast Alaska. She hopes all of you performing and listening tonight will consider submitting to next year's journal. Coming up next here on stage, we have Catherine Karstensen-Zerbst, representing North Pole High School. Please give her a nice welcome.
The Bearer by Hayden Carruth. Like all his people, he felt at home in the forest, the silence beneath great trees, the dimness there, the distant high rustling of foliage. the clumps of fern like little green fountains. Patches of sunlight, patches of moss and lichen, the occasional undergrowth of hazel and holly. Was he aware of all this? On the contrary, his unawareness was a kind of gratification, a sense of comfort and repose, even in the strain of running day after day. He had been aware of the prairies. He had known he hated the sky, so vast, the wind roaring in the grasses, and the brightness that hurt his eyes. Now, he hated nothing, nor could he feel anything but the urgency that compelled him onward continually. May I not forget, may I not forget, he said to himself over and over. When he saw 3 ravens rise on their awkward wings from the forest floor, perhaps 75 ells ahead of him, he said, 3 ravens, and immediately forgot them. May I not forget, he said, and repeated again in his mind the exact words he had memorized, the message that was important and depressing, which made him feel worry and happiness at the same time, a peculiar elation. At last he came to his people, far in the darkness. He smiled and said his words, and he looked intently into their eyes, gleaming in firelight. He cried when they cried, no rest for his lungs. He flinched and lay down, while they began to kill him with clubs and heavy stones.
That was Catherine Karstensen Zerbst, representing North Pole High School. Continuing on with our fabulous judges, the next person I'd like to tell you about is a local Juneau person. Her name is Kristi Nami Erickson. She's award-winning Korean adoptee spoken word artist, activist, and educator based here in Juneau. Her work is grounded in social justice and community engagement. Kristi is the co-founder and president of Wushki Nadeyi, a community arts organization that hosts monthly open mics and poetry slams, committed to diversity, inclusive community, and empowering voice. She has performed at art centers, universities, and theaters, including the Roundhouse in London and Equilibrium spoken word series in Minneapolis. Kristi has been published in a variety of online and print publications and leads spoken word workshops and residencies for diverse groups. She received a 2011 Juneau Arts and Humanities Council Individual Artist Award grant, was awarded the 2013 Mayor's Award for Artist of the Year, is a Rasmussen Foundation Individual Artist Award recipient. Kristi has a BA in Social Justice, Racial Justice, and a certificate in Conflict Studies from Hamline University in Minnesota. She does run the Poetry Slam and started that, like I said. You can check that out monthly, actually once a month, and it rotates all over the Juneau community. It's a very cool thing to check out. And also, I do believe, I'm gonna plug a little bit, she's got an album, a spoken word album coming out here pretty soon. So thank you so much, Kristi, for being a judge here today. All right. And coming up next in our second round is Owen Fulton, representing Sitka High School. Please welcome him back to the stage.
In the Basement of the Goodwill Store by Ted Kuzer. In musty light, in the thin brown air of damp carpet, doll heads and rust, beneath long rows of sharp footfalls like nails in a lid. An old man stands, trying on glasses, lifting each pair from the box like a glittering fish and holding it up to the light of a dirty bulb. Near him, a heap of enameled pans as white as skulls looms in the catacomb shadows, and old toilets with dry red throats cough up bouquets of curtain rods. You've seen him somewhere before. He's wearing the green leisure suit you threw out with the garbage, and the Christmas tie you hated, and the ventilated wingtip shoes you found in your father's closet and wore as a joke, and the glasses which finally fit him, through which he looks to see you looking back. Two mirrors that flash and glance are those that one day you too will look down over the years, when you've grown old and thin and no longer particular, and the things you once thought you were rid of forever have taken you back in their arms.
And that was Owen Fulton, representing Sitka High School. I'd like to tell you about another one of our judges, Jeff Brady. And Jeff grew up in Hickory, North Carolina, and graduated from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in 1978 with a degree in American Studies. Though he reached the senior honors program in creative writing under the late, great Doris Betts, he gave up on a novel in that class to focus on his goal of starting a newspaper in Skagway, where he had worked the 2 previous summers. Jeff had been the winner of a statewide high school poetry contest in 1974 and published in a little volume called Emerging Voices. Jeff took extra journalism courses, wrote features for the Daily Tar Heel, and interned at a county weekly paper in Pittsboro, North Carolina. During college, he was on the fiction staff of the Celador, the campus literary magazine, which also published some of his early poetry. Jeff thinks that once he gets all this history out of his system, he will have a hankering to get back to writing poetry again, or maybe finish that novel. Coming up next on stage, please give a warm welcome to Tyler Kelly, representing Twinley Bridge Charter School in Wasilla.
13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird by Wallace Stevens. Among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. I was of 3 minds, like a tree in which there are 3 blackbirds. The blackbird whirled in the autumn winds is a small part of the pantomime. A man and a woman are one. A man and a woman and a blackbird are one. I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling or just after. Icicles filled the long window with barbaric glass. The shadow of the blackbird crossed it to and fro. The mood traced in the shadow an indecipherable cause. O thin men of Haddam, why do you imagine golden birds? Do you not see how the blackbird walks around the feet of the women about you? I know noble accents and lucid, inescapable rhythms. But I know too that the blackbird is involved in what I know. As the blackbird flew out of sight, it marked the edge of one of many circles. At the sight of blackbirds flying in the green light, even the bawds of euphony would cry out sharply. He rode over Connecticut in a glass coach. Once, a fear pierced him, in that he mistook the shadow of his equipage for blackbirds. The river is moving, The blackbird must be flying. It was evening all afternoon. It was snowing, and it was going to snow. The blackbird sat in the cedar limbs.
And that was Tyler Kelly representing Twinley Bridge Charter School in Wasilla. And I am going to tell you a little bit about Patrick Race. And although I was going in this order of the judges' table, I wanted to read his bio because it makes me laugh. And I'll go backwards to Susie in just as, in the next round. Patrick Race is an illustrator and filmmaker whose work can be found at the Alaska Robotics Gallery or online at alaskarobotics.com. You should definitely check that out if you haven't. His sandwich of choice is the number 7 on dark bread with the works horseradish and pickles. Just so you know, in case you're needing to feed him later, that's what he likes. And I inadvertently left out some wonderful bio things about Angela Nishaluk that I would love to tell you about. So we talked about Robert Frost being one of her favorite poets, but I failed to mention her awesome extracurricular activities, which I would like to do. One of her extracurricular activities takes her outside, working with the ski team and assisting children to learn how to ski. She is an avid reader, as shown in her participation in Battle of the Books. She is the Secretary for Future Education of Alaska, and she believes that FEA will definitely help her prepare for teaching and continue to increase her curiosity of the profession. She feels that it's important to pass on knowledge. Angela is eager to graduate and attend college. She believes her future holds bright things for her, poetry out loud included. So forgive me for missing those things. Please welcome back to the stage Angela Nishaluk, representing Unalakleet School.
Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught insane the sun in flight, and learn too late they grieved it on its way. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Thank you.
And that was Angela Nishaluk from Unalakleet School. I would like to tell you about another one of our fabulous judges, Susie Gregg Fowler. She grew up in Juneau, Alaska, in a house filled with music and books. After high school, she attended Antioch College, traveled and worked around the country, studied at colleges in San Diego, lived in Greece, and ultimately settled back here in Juneau. Susie has published 9 books for children and adults, as well as numerous poems, essays, and articles. She has been on many boards of organizations, including being one of the founding members of Perseverance Theater, and for that I thank you. Susie teaches workshops and does presentations and readings across Alaska and has received numerous national awards for her writing over the last 2 decades. Susie lives not far from here with her husband and her floppy-eared dog. And welcome, yes, exactly. Please give her a round of applause. And please welcome back to the stage from West Anchorage High School, Meva Ordaz.
Baudelaire by Delmore Schwartz. When I fall asleep, and even during sleep, I hear quite distinctly voices speaking, whole phrases, commonplace and trivial, having no relation to my affairs. Dear Mother, is any time left to us in which to be happy? My debts are immense. My bank account is subject to the court's judgment. I know nothing. I cannot know anything. I have lost the ability to make an effort. But now, as before, my love for you increases. You are always armed to stone me, always. It is true, it dates from childhood. For the first time in my long life, I am almost happy. The book, almost finished, almost seems good. It will endure, a monument to my obsessions, my hatred, my disgust. Debts and inquietude persist and weaken me. Satan glides before me, saying sweetly, rest for a day. You can rest and play today. Tonight you will work. When night comes, my mind, terrified by the arrears, bored by sadness, paralyzed by impotence, promises, tomorrow, I will tomorrow. Tomorrow, the same comedy enacts itself, with the same resolution, the same weakness. I am sick of this life of furnished rooms. I am sick having colds and headaches. You know my strange life. Every day brings its quota of wrath. You little know a poet's life, dear Mother. I must write poems, the most fatiguing of occupations. I am sad this morning. Do not reproach me. I write from a cafe near the post office, amid the click of billiard balls, the clatter of dishes, the pounding of my heart. I have been asked to write a history of caricature. I have been asked to write a history of sculpture. Shall I write a history of the caricatures of the sculptures of you in my heart? Although it costs you countless agony, although you cannot believe it necessary and doubt that the sum is accurate, please send me money, enough for at least 3 weeks.
I've written that poem before. Nice. That's Meva Ordaz, thank you, from West Anchorage High School. And I would like to also tell you about our accuracy judge. She is highly qualified for this. It's Bridget Lujan. She has a lot of practice striving for and demanding accuracy every day in her profession. So she's a welcomed addition to tonight's team of judges. She is a CPA and a partner with the Juneau firm LG Rayfeld Mertz, and has made a career of following rules and going by the book to serve her clients. Bridget is a trustee on the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council Board of Directors and current Finance Committee Chair. She also has a BFA in theater from Niagara University. I didn't know that. How cool. And accordingly is a huge fan of the arts. She is married to Jess Lujan, and together they have children Christopher, who's 12, and Megan, who's 9. She congratulates all of the Poetry Out Loud candidates and wishes them the best of luck in tonight's competition. Coming up on stage next, please give a nice warm welcome to Rafael Salas, representing Thunder Mountain High School.
Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window. Sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night.
And that was Rafael Salas from Thunder Mountain High School here in Juneau. I would like to also tell you that back in the corner, while the judges are busy tabulating or making their scores happen, we have some fabulous people who are tabulating scores, and one of them is Dr. Marcia Sousa. She's the Dean of Arts and Sciences at the University of Alaska Southeast. Fabulous addition to our community. And Nancy DeCherney, the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. She's the boss over there and has really made that organization just flourish. So I would like to say thank you to them for tabulating all the scores frantically, because it does take some serious brain power back there. Also, I would like to give a warm thank you to Laura Forbes, who makes this possible for these students. She's the education person at the Alaska State Council on the Arts. So thank you to all of those people who constantly make arts accessible for young people in Alaska. Yes. And coming up next, please welcome back to the stage from Homer High School, John Sarmiento.
One Art by Elizabeth Bishop. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day except the fluster of Lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice, losing farther, losing faster. Places and names and where it was you meant to travel? None of these will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch. And look, my last door, next to last of 3 loved houses went by. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster. Some realms I owned, 2 rivers, a continent. I miss them, but it was no disaster. Even losing you. I shan't have lied. It's evident. The art of losing isn't too hard to master, though it may look like disaster. If I might excuse myself for a second to the judges of accuracy, we decided that the parentheses in that poem were part of an offset voice and therefore not included. Leave that to your judgment. Thank you.
I like that clarification. Thank you. That's John Sarmiento representing Homer High School. If you're a person who spends a lot of time in schools, either teaching or seeing your own student, you might notice that poetry is not always the most popular subject in school for everyone. And so it's an amazing thing that Poetry Out Loud makes it so that all students have poetry accessible to them. I did want to share with you a couple of just kind of big praise for the program, because as you can see tonight, the poetry is very clear and real for these students. So from school administrators and from teachers, this is actually a woman named Leslie Smith from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Poetry is not a popular topic in my school, not no way, not no how. But it is the goal of several teachers to create a change in this attitude. We are extremely grateful for this program and the opportunity it afforded our student who went to the regional competition. It was a wonderful experience for her to be among other students with enthusiasm for reciting poetry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll try it again next year. And that has been definitely the theme here in Alaska as we keep moving forward with Poetry Out Loud. Up next, welcome back to our stage, please, Hazel Underwood, representing Kenny Lake School.
The Poet at 17 by Larry Levis. My youth, I hear it mostly in the long, echoing volleys of billiards in the pool halls, where I spent it all extravagantly, believing my delicate touch on a cue would last for years. Outside, the vineyards vanished under rain, and the trees held still, or seemed to hold their breath, when the men I worked with, pruning orchards, sang their lost songs, Amapola, La Paloma, Jalisco, Notirayas. The corny tunes their sons would just as soon forget at recess, where they lounged apart in small groups of their own. Still, even when they laughed in Spanish. I hated high school then, and on weekends drove a tractor through the widowed fields. It was so boring. I memorized poems above the engine's monotone. Sometimes, whole days slipped past without my noticing. And birds of all kinds flew in front of me then. I learned to tell them apart by the slightest change in plumage or the inflection of a call. And why not admit it? I was happy then. I believed in no one. I had the sort of solitude the world usually allows only to kings and criminals who are extinct, who disdain this world and who rot, corrupt and shallow as fields I disked. I turned up the same gray earth for years. Still, The land made a glum raisin each autumn and made that little hell of days. The vines must have seemed like cages to the Mexicans, who were paid 7 cents a tray for the grapes they picked. Inside the vines it was hot, and spiders strummed their emptiness. Black widow, daddy longlegs. The vine canes whipped our faces. None of us cared. And the girls I tried to talk to after class sailed by, and then each night lay enthroned in my bed with nothing on but the jewels of their embarrassment. Eyes, lips, dreams, no one, the sky and the road. A life like that, it seemed to go on forever. Reading poems in school, then driving a stuttering tractor. Warm afternoons, then billiards on blue October nights. The thick stars. But mostly now, I remember the trees, wearing their mysterious yellow sullenness like party dresses and parties I didn't attend. And then the first ice hung like spider lattices, or the embroideries of great Aunt No One. And then the first dark entering the trees, and inside, the adults with their cocktails before dinner. The way they always seemed so afraid of something, and sat so rigidly, although the land was theirs. Thank you.
And that was Hazel Underwood representing Kenny Lake School. So we have one more poet in this final, or this second round of 2. And I want to just tell you again about how the scoring works. The scoring is cumulative, so they will be added the first round and the second round. And then in the event of a tie, the tied student with the highest overall performance score will win. If that also results in a tie, then we'll look at the highest accuracy score. I also, although it's wonderful to hear from school administrators what they believe is great about the Poetry Out Loud program, I think it's also really important to hear from the students and what they think about poetry and why this program is important. And these are from State Champions, a collection of comments from State Champions past ones. It says, one of them is, reading words is great, but they are also meant to be spoken. The way you say things is so important. And with poetry, which is meant to convey emotions and tell stories, it's crucial. There are poems I didn't get at all before Poetry Out Loud that I now really love. And another one, this is one of my favorite ones because it just kind of speaks to me personally. I entered Poetry Out Loud because I am a competitive speaker. I can relate. Next year, I will enter because I love poetry, which I think is beautiful, yes. And our final contestant in this second round, please welcome back to the stage from Skagway School, Zoe Wassman.
Rondeau, or Jenny Kissed Me, by Leigh Hunt. Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping from the chair she sat in. Time, you thief, who loved to put sweets into your list, put that in. Say I'm sad. Say I'm weary. Say that health and wealth have missed me. Say I'm growing old. But add, Jenny kissed me.
And we are going to take a short 10-minute break for the judges' scores to be accumulated. And while we're doing that, or before we do that, I would like to give one more round of applause for both wonderful rounds and 10 amazing reciters of beautiful poetry. Thank you very much, and we'll be back soon. And welcome back to the Alaska State Poetry Out Loud competition. And we have had 2 fabulous rounds with 10 contestants, and I'm just been blown away all evening, and I can't wait to hear who our finalists are. Before we do get to our finalists, our 3rd and final round, I would like to introduce to you Alaska State Representative Kathy Munoz, who has some really special remarks about another wonderful poet in this room. Ms. Munoz.
Thank you very much, and what a pleasure to be here tonight to witness the talent of our youth. You were absolutely wonderful and gave me a lot of pleasure to be here to hear you. I also would like to recognize Senator Peter Machicki is here from the Kenai Peninsula. Representative Bob Herron was also here earlier with his wife Margaret. Together we have completed a legislative citation in honor of Nora Marks Dauenhauer. Nora Marks Dauenhauer is the Poet Laureate from 2002 to 2014. Nora has a distinguished career as a writer, mentor, and translator. She was born in 1927 in Juneau and was raised in Juneau and Hoonah, as well as on the family fishing boat and in seasonal hunting and fishing sites around Icy Straits, Glacier Bay, and Cape Spencer. Her first language is Tlingit, and she began to learn English when entering school at the age of 8. She has a bachelor's degree in anthropology from Alaska Methodist University and is internationally recognized for her fieldwork, transcription, translation of Tlingit oral literature. Nora is married to Richard Dauenhauer, who's here tonight. Richard is a writer and former poet laureate with whom she has co-authored and co-edited several editions on Tlingit language and folklore. They together have 4 children, 12 grandchildren, and 17 great-grandchildren. She lives in Juneau, where she is semi-retired, and she continues with research, writing, and consulting. The 28th Alaska State Legislature salutes this wonderful Alaskan writer who has contributed in so many ways to our communities and made our state much richer for her work. Would you please come forward so that I can present this award to you?
I am so happy. I come from Alaska, where our kids are becoming poets, writers. Nobody knows where you're gonna stop. I am very proud of you because I know it's really hard work to write poetry. You write and then you have to proofread. And then you have to do all these things that become a poem. I'm very proud to be a Poet Laureate of Alaska. My gosh. And I'm proud of you. I'll say it again. Keep on writing. No matter what you see, you can write about it. I think I'll read. I have to read. I'm not like you folks. You memorized everything, didn't you? I'm going to read the only long poem I'm going to have tonight. I have other long poems, but I think I'll start with this one. You know, before I became a writer and I went to school, I was a cannery worker. I worked on crab, shaking the legs, and I worked on shrimp, and I worked on salmon cannery. So I'm gonna do a salmon egg puller, $2.75 an hour. You learn to dance with machines. Keep time with the header. Swing your arms reach inside the salmon cavity with your left hand where the head was. Grab lightly top of egg sac with fingers. Pull gently but quick. Reach in immediately with right hand for the lower egg sac. Pull this gently. Slide them into a chute to catch the eggs. Reach into the next salmon. Do this 4 hours in the morning with a 15-minute coffee break. Go home for lunch. Attend to kids and feed them. Work 4 hours in the afternoon with a 15-minute coffee break. Go home for dinner, attend to kids, and feed them. Go back for 2 more hours, 4 more hours, reach, pull gently. Go home for the day, attend to kids who missed you. When fingers start swelling, soak them in Epsom salts. If you don't have time, stand under a shower with your hands up under the spray. Get to bed early if you can. Next morning, if your fingers are sore, start dancing immediately. The pain will go away with icy fish and eggs. I'll read my totemic display. We used to go up this river, and we'd float down from the highway, Alaska Highway. We'd cross the borderline, state line, and go down to Yakutat. And it was really great to see a bear up so close, but I wouldn't want to get any closer. I call this totemic display. Melt Creek at the confluence of Alsek and Tachincini rivers. No sooner had we landed and climbed the riverbank when the huge brown bear stood, a quivering mass of fur, her cub quivering beside her. My mother's beadwork, shimmering glass facets on a brown bear shirt. That's it. Like the storm is like people emerging from a steam bath, bending over, steaming from their heads and shoulders, the ring of mountains from Chilkat Range to the Juneau ice field, as if steam bath towels of snow flurries at their feet are foaming white caps of sea like water from thrown on rocks, steaming from the heat. That's it. Tonio saves Christmas. Tonio is my grandson. It was the day before Christmas when Tonio was helping Grandma Nora put up lights on her tiny tree. They wouldn't light. Tonio was like lightning, troubleshooting each light. In a couple of seconds, he said, "We need a bulb to make them blink too." A few seconds later, he said, "There it is." He plugged it in, smiling from ear to ear, beaming. We watched the little tree light up. I have short poems coming up. This one is museum. Alaska Native youth flickering in strobe light, disco diorama. That's it. That's about you guys. When the census taker came to see my grandmother. She couldn't speak English. A lot of people couldn't speak English in her age group. I call this one crosstalk. When asked by the census taker how old she was, oops, I forgot to do something here. Test two is slinget, it's not counted, it's not counted. So here's test two. Crosstalk. When asked by the census taker how old she was, Grandma replied, test two. Census taker says 52. This is my favorite one. I call this one wealth. For all Tlingit women who slice fish for the smokehouse, slime squishing through gold and silver bracelets, women slicing salmon. That's it. I'll bet some of you kids have had salmon, huh? I like salmon too. This is my last one. Granddaughters dancing, blossoms swaying in the wind. That's it.
Thank you very much, Nora. That's beautiful. And, wow, I'm just got a little weepy, so apologize for that. Get myself together. I was talking to, actually, Mr. Downhauer, Richard Downhauer, out in the lobby area, and he was remarking that the students in this Poetry Out Loud competition sure did pick some amazingly hard poets to do. And so, without further ado, I would like to tell you who our judges have selected for this final round. And I imagine, just by the kind of looks on their faces, that this was really no hard decision. So thank you to the judges for making hard decisions. And this will be I will say their names in the order that they will read, and it's actually alphabetical, just so you know that. So reading first, and I'll just say all names, and then I'll invite our speaker up. First, Meva Ordaz, if you can give her a round of applause. Rafael Salas. And the last person in our final round will be John Sarmiento. So, can I have one more round of applause for all of our fabulous poets who have read tonight, students? And first off in our final round, please welcome back to the stage Meva Ordaz representing West Anchorage High School.
do I get this down? Oh. Ode by Arthur O'Shaughnessy. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. With wonderful, deathless ditties, we build up the world's great cities. And out of a fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. One man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown. And three with a new song's measure can trample an empire down. We, in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth, built Nineveh with our sighing, and Babel itself with our mirth, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth.
And that was Mava Ordaz from West Anchorage High School. So there's a few librarians in the audience tonight, and those librarians very kindly came to me. Excellent, I always represent librarians, awesome. And came to me and said, if you're a poetry fan, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, check out 811 in your local library. You can find some poetry there. And of course, I love that system. It's right there all for you at 811. Speaking of things that don't relate at all, we were talking earlier about, Laura and I were having a conversation just about hashtags and how you can tweet things. I'm not a huge tweeter myself, but if you are a tweeter and you want to get some information out in the universe, you can hashtag Alaska POL to get some more information there out in the universe. Before this whole show started, at the very beginning of the evening, we heard some wonderful, wonderful music by some beautiful students, and I wanted to just let you know who those folks were. It was Henry Chang, James Chang, Elias Antea, and Robert Newman, and then also Guo Ha-Sha, also known as Mr. Shah, a very wonderful teacher here in town. So you heard that beautiful music, and I just wanted to say thank you to them for providing us with beautiful, and they looked so good. Yeah? Yeah. So next up, without further ado, from Thunder Mountain High School, please welcome back to the stage Rafael Salas.
Invitation to Love by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Come when the nights are bright with stars, or come when the moon is mellow. Come when the sun his golden bars drops on the hayfield yellow. Come in the twilight, soft and gray. Come in the night or come in the day. Come, O love, whene'er you may. And you are welcome. Welcome. You are sweet, O love, dear love. You are soft as the nesting dove. Come to my heart and bring it to rest as the bird flies home to its welcome nest. Come when my heart is full of grief, or when my heart is merry. Come with the falling of the leaf, or with the reddening cherry. Come when the year's first blossom blows. Come when the summer gleams and glows. Come with the winter's drifting snows. And you are welcome. Welcome.
That was Rafael Salas from Thunder Mountain High School here in Juneau. So I wanted to tell you about this fabulous new place called At 360. This is a brand new studio here, and we thank the people at KTOO for providing Alaskans with such a beautiful space to have performance and be broadcast live. And definitely contact KTOO if you're interested in getting your event in this space. It's just the people here are lovely to work with, and thank you to them so much. I also wanted to tell you about something really cool that's happening in Juneau, but it's actually from Fairbanks. Fairbanks Shakespeare Theater is responsible for this really cool thing from this other poet called William Shakespeare. And he's a gentleman, Bruce Rogers, the artistic director at Fairbanks Shakespeare Theater, created this thing called Bardathon, and what it is all of Shakespeare's canon of plays, all in 8 days, all day, and all night long. And yeah, seriously, we're talking everything. So you can check that out here. It's at the Juneau Public Library is putting that on. You can check it out at 3 a.m. at Perseverance Theater. You can check it out all over town. So there's a schedule. You can check that out online. But it's just so cool if you want to hear more beautiful words, for sure, spoken by community members. It's a really neat thing going on right now. Last but not least here, is coming up to stage John Sarmiento from Homer High School. Please welcome him back.
Vigil Strange I Kept on the Field One Night by Walt Whitman. Vigil strange I kept on the field one night, when you, my son and my comrade, dropped at my side that day. One look I but gave, which your dear eyes returned with a look I shall never forget. One touch of your hand to mine, oh boy, reached up as you lay on the ground. Then onward I sped in the battle, the even contested battle, till late at night, relieved, to the place at last again I made my way. Found you in death so cold, dear comrade. Found your body, son, of responding kisses, never again on earth responding. Bared your face in the starlight, curious the scene, cool blew the moderate night wind. Long there, and then in vigil I stood, dimly around me the battlefield spreading, vigil wondrous and vigil sweet, there in the fragrant silent night. But not a tear fell, not even a long-drowned sigh. Long, long I gazed. Then, partially on the earth, sat by your side, leaning my chin in my hands, passing sweet hours, immortal and mystic hours with you, dearest comrade. Not a tear, not a word. Vigil of silence, love and death. Vigil for you, my son and my soldier. As onward, silently stars aloft, eastward, new ones upward stole. Vigil final for you, brave boy. I could not save you. Swift was your death. I faithfully love you and cared for your living. I think we shall surely meet again. Till at latest lingering of the night, indeed, just as the dawn appeared, My comrade I wrapped in his blanket, enveloped well his form, folded the blanket well, tucking it carefully overhead and carefully under feet. And there and then, and bathed by the rising sun, my son, in his grave, in his rude dug grave, I deposited. Ending my vigil strange with that. Vigil of night and battlefield dim. Vigil for boy of responding kisses. Never again on earth responding. Vigil I never forget how his day brightened. I rose from the chill ground and folded my soldier well in his blanket and buried him where he fell.
And coming in third place for the Poetry Out Loud National, the Alaska State Contest. Third place is John Sarmiento, representing Homer High School. Thank you. And in second place and runner-up is Rafael Salas from Thunder Mountain High School. And of course, representing Alaska at the National Poetry Out Loud competition is Meva Ordaz from West Anchorage High School. And please, one last huge round of applause for all of our fabulous contestants this evening. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Congratulations.